Welcome to the Box Score Sports Podcast.
To the Timberwolves. So this is the NBA exit interview for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They were eliminated in the second round by the Spurs in 6. They were 49-33, and I believe they were a 6 seed in the Western Conference. Give me your pros for the Timberwolves.
I think it's the improvement of Jaden McDaniels, and I don't think he's ever going to be like one of those like top end two-way players. Just we kind of saw it in the Spurs series. He does have some limitations, but he had more runway this year with Alexander Walker gone, and he stepped up to it. And the dude's tough. He plays hard. I like the way he carries himself. I think to see him kind of secure himself as like that high end 3-and-D really good player is probably all that you ask for in today's NBA is dudes like this that you can fit on a roster. And he's perfect next to Ant.
I agree. Yeah, that was 41% from 3. I don't know if he'll keep that up, but when I saw it at first, I didn't believe it. I'm gonna double check actually because I'm like, is this real? 41%? Because I think he didn't get sub 30, he didn't get above 35. I think I looked at his
Yep.
career stat. Yeah, 41%.
41. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's been above 35 his whole career. So this year he jumped to 41. So I don't know if it's like sustainable. Oh, he got to 37. Okay. He 39, 37, 33. He had a down year last year. Now he's up to 41. So maybe whatever it is, yeah, if he can be that 39, 38 range, that's going to work really good next to Ant. I thought the AO trade, like, bunch of second round picks for him. What that big pickup for them. Obviously, he's a free agent, so we'll see if they end up re-signing him. But I just think like when that team needed that one player, they saw him, they got him for pretty cheap. I think that was a pro on the season as well, and you can see that he fits really well with the rest of your roster. So the AO trade to me was a big pro, and what he provided for the team as well.
Yep. That was on my list too. Just you get him in, you see what he's got, but then you kind of like he gets familiar with the team, familiar with the organization, gives you the rights to sign him. And I think, yeah, if you like you said, they didn't have to give up a lot to get him, which is like criminal on the Bulls half. But that was a home run trade. And, I think the injury kind of slowed him down at the end of that Thunder series, which is unfortunate. But in that Thunder series between him and McDaniels was like, all right, this is the type of stuff where we had that high outlook for the Timberwolves. They went against the Spurs, injuries kind of caught up, and along with some other stuff, but he's a total highlight.
Yeah, agreed. And let's face it, Victor showed up too. So, let's see. Any other pros for you?
I put down Terrence Shannon Jr. mainly in the
Me too.
playoffs.
Yeah.
Like he kind of showed it at the end of last year. Then he got buried, and kind of was buried for large chunks of the season. Then shows up in the playoffs and like has no fear and is just going at guys. And his shot is not great. Probably something that's not going to be like a strength of his ever. But if you can bring a guy off the bench that can get to the hoop like he can, put some effort on the defensive end, again, like Gillespie, these are just dudes that you need to have that play an outsized role in the regular season. But you saw like, okay, we could play him in the playoffs. He can play some minutes in the playoffs. And, he did it against the Spurs and held up fairly good. So,
Yeah. No, that's I had him down too. I just thought explosive. He was so explosive getting to the rim. So totally agree with you. I think that was. I hope that they utilize him more next year because, like you said, he keeps getting buried. I'm not quite sure why with his explosiveness, but DiVincenzo injury opened up the way to that. So maybe they found something there. Um, any other pros?
I mean, just, Chris Finch game 1 against, I guess, the Denver series in game 1 against the Spurs.
Oh,
He showed he's got some stuff, but maybe he needs to be a little harder on the team, which we'll get to in other areas. But
Yeah.
I think he showed. I mean, he's a good coach.
Agreed. Okay, let's go to cons. Give me your first con for the Timberwolves season.
I'm just gonna play off Julius Randle.
Yep.
Like he showed up for stretches. That game one, like against the Spurs, even the Nuggets series, like you see what Julius Randle can be, but then again, you see what Julius Randle can be as
Right.
time goes on. And I mean, it was his thing in New York. That's kind of been his thing here. I guess he's been a little more buttoned up with the Timberwolves. I think he kind of likes it more for the most part. But when they needed him the most, like he just disappeared, lackadaisical. I don't want to say lazy, but like not paying attention sometimes. And then when he kind of gets in that mode, the shot goes away, the aggressiveness goes away, and then he's just a dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I had that written down as well. Just Ant needs him. Like everybody needs somebody. Like all the star players need another guy. Randall was supposed to be that guy, and he just didn't show up in that way. So it really hurt the team, especially. Like I think game one he had a good game, but then down the stretch he just didn't have it. I have DiVincenzo's injury down too because it's going to go into next year, and that's not good. So that's another con that I had written down because. I hate those injuries. Obviously, I think we all do as sports fans, but then it not only cripples their playoff chances,
Yeah.
but really it will affect them next year as well. Also, I have written down Rob Dillingham situation. They kind of gave up on him, which is fine, but they spent a big asset on him as well. A couple big assets. Like they moved up in the draft to get him. And then, like, I just feel like it's this situation where they're very focused on winning, which is totally fine, but then the guy can't develop because he's got to play through mistakes and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of what happened and why they gave up on him. And it might have stunted his development as well. So, the Rob Dillingham situation was a con for me as well.
Yeah, that fell flat on its face. Maybe, like you said, maybe go fresh start will do something. But I also give him credit for uh maybe he still had some value left,
Sure. Right.
and they used it to get off, and they got to Sunu. So hey, at least you turned it into something. Now it depends if you get cheap and you don't keep to Sunu, but um, you know, bad for doing that. Good for like they consider it a sunk cost. Let's reshuffle.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, the stuff they gave up for him just didn't pan out. Okay, anything else? Any other cons?
Yeah, I just put lack of maturity. The Timberwolves can't seem to get over this regular season, and it showed up in the playoffs and stretches when they just kind of like pout, they do dumb things, and when it seemed like they were kind of like behind the eight ball, they kind of took their bags and went home. Like Anthony Edwards, like congratulating the team, the Spurs with like 8 minutes left in the game. Like, I mean, I get it, the game was over, but you're like, dude, just play out the game, do the formality of it. They just seem like there's just something missing, and it keeps creeping into the team.
Yeah, I agree with that. The way they always play up or down to their competition is just like as a fan who don't really root for the Wolves, it's frustrating to watch because it's like you got this guy and it's you're not you know, it's not going good. And I think even Ant said, right, one of his exit interviews, he's like, yeah, we really didn't prepare for the our regular season. We didn't do a good enough job preparing for the regular. I mean, the playoffs. We didn't do a good enough job. So I think they kind of see that. So, but the question is, what are you going to do about it?
That's
So,
true.
okay. Let's see here. Are we done with cons?
Yep,
What would you have done different if you're the Spurs?
the Wolves.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Yeah, Wolves. I'm trying to find my trade I had up
I,
here, so I'm a little distracted.
yeah, it was tough. I mean, it was tough to come up with one. Like they made the Sumnu trade, which worked out. They traded Mike Conley, but because he got traded again, they were able to bring him back. Like loophole in the rule because he got traded a second time, so then he can come back. Um, I mean, outside something dramatic, I think roster wise, they probably maximize it. Like I know they were supposedly in on Giannis at the trade deadline. Not sure how, but it seemed like they kind of went for it. We talked about Dillingham, like it didn't work out, but they moved off of him. So I didn't really come up with something besides Terrence Shannon playing more in the regular season. But that seems kind of small in comparison to some of these other teams, what we talked about.
Yeah, what I put down is just because, like I mentioned, Edwards' words, like, "Hey, we weren't playing the regular season to get ready for the playoffs," like that idea of it. So that's what I put down, just taking the regular season more seriously, and then you would have where you're ready for these playoff moments, and you might not even be playing. You could have been, the 3 seed or the 4 seed, and maybe you get the Thunder in the second round, and that's a better matchup for you than the Spurs, right? Or like, and then you don't have to play the Spurs until the Western Conference Finals. Like, and again, I'm more about who you lose to, not when you lose. So it's not a big deal that they didn't beat the Spurs. But I just think if you take the regular season a little bit more seriously, you're less inconsistent, you're more prepared for the playoffs, and you might put yourself in a situation where you don't play the team that might expose your flaws better until the final round of the playoffs, and then maybe you have answers for it, or there's always injuries. But I just think if they would have just took the regular season, that's what I would have done, took the regular season more seriously.
Yeah, no, that's a good one based off of what they were saying at the end.
Yeah. Okay. Grade.
I gave them 4 stars. I think they kind of taking down Denver in the way that they did is kind of like a highlight. Showing something against the Spurs for a couple games that might look even better depending how the Spurs finish this season. But I think they did a little better than expected in the West.
Yeah, I went with 3.5. I think we both had them as a top 4 seed. I'd have to double check when we think. So finishing 6 is a little tough. Now the Spurs ascension wasn't like predicted by us, so that was one reason. But like the fact that the Lakers and the Houston Rockets finished ahead of you, I think that's I dock them a little bit for that. But then I do put them up for the series, especially against the Nuggets. Like to get out of that series without Ant and without DiVincenzo, they deserve some credit for that. So yeah, 3.5 for me. Off season. Let's talk about their off season. So they have a lot of free agents. AO, we talked about that being the most important free agent for them. Mike Conley, Bones, Kyle Anderson are some of the bigger names. Uh, they are about $6 million away from the luxury tax. They have the 28th and the 59th pick, so they're really tight up against it. Clint, what do they do? What do you see them doing this offseason? What would you do? Go
Yeah,
for it.
I think this has to be like we got to shake some things up.
Yeah.
Whether that's Rudy, whether that's Randall. Unfortunately, probably moving Dante because he's probably not going to play and he's on the last year going into it. So it's a salary spot that a team could acquire, and it's only 1 year. But I think they got to shake up the roster. Like we've seen it. Well, we talked about it a little the other day. Like some teams just reach a certain level and they can't get over it. And I know, admittedly, it's really tough in the West. And you have probably the 2 best teams we've seen in a long time in your conference. But to just kind of have the same problems over and over, and to see the same things over and over, eventually sometimes you got to pull the plug on a couple of the guys and try something different.
Yeah, totally agree. I think they got to shake things up. I don't know if that means moving Rudy Gobert, moving Randall. I would try to keep Naz Reid. I understand like when you do trades, me and you are totally against like some guy being untradeable, and you're like, really, that dude? But I would say Naz Reid I'd try to keep, and McDaniels I'd try to keep as well, but doesn't mean they're untradeable. But I think like the 2 guys I'd be focused on shaking up the most is Rudy Gobert and Randall.
Yep.
Yeah. And like you said, Dante's contract becomes tradable just because he's not going to play next year. So your long shot for the Wolves.
Yeah, I think it's like acquiring. I know they tried on KD before. Could you get back in that game? Or even someone like Kyrie, to get like a point guard. someone who kind of relieved that, because Io is like, he can play point guard, not like a true number one, but you could probably slide him and Edwards down to the three, so forth and so on. So I think they're probably not going to get a young guy, because I don't think they have the assets, and I don't think Julius Randle, like, oh wow, the Bucks got Julius Randle in a Giannis deal, and they don't have the picks. So I think they're gonna skirt that outside of like those older dudes that are still good that could contribute.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's what it's going to be. End up being like a, maybe like they go after Kawhi or KD. That would be the options. I had this really cool Giannis trade that involved Portland with the Bucks and the Wolves. It did not save, so unfortunately I'm not going to sit here and play with it. That's what I got distracted by before. But basically, it was sending a couple young guys along with Gobert and someone else to the Bucks and a bunch of picks, and then McDaniels would have to go to the Blazers because you want to make the Blazers, and then I think the Blazers would get a pick or two, and then the Blazers would also, I think it was Evan Turner. They would take, not Evan, Miles Turner, and then the Minnesota Timberwolves would end up with Giannis. And I thought that would be an interesting trade for all three teams. I wanted to run it by you to be like, would you think this is fair enough or not? But I can't. I'm not going to try to play with it now. But that was the trade I had. But I think there's a way, if you get a third team involved, you get Giannis, and I really think Giannis is like the kind of guy the Timberwolves really could use, just because, like, if you're going to compete with those two guys, you kind of need your own like freak, right? Like Wembanyama's a freak, whatever. Giannis for the next 2 years, I think he'll still have something. So that's the type of guy I think you need to counteract that a little bit, but we'll see.
Yeah, the Wolves, they seem McDaniels is like as close to a untradeable guy that they seem to talk about. But you're right. In order to get in the game, sometimes you got to do something dramatic.
Well, right. And I don't, again, it goes back to like we're going to talk about one of my guys that I'm really high on, but like, you already teased me yesterday, like that you would think about trading him. It's like, you can't consider McDaniels necessarily like totally untradeable if you can get a top 8 guy, because what's going to happen, and you like to say this, what do you say? Like it comes faster than you think, right?
It gets late early.
It gets late early. That's it. It gets late early. Edwards could ask for a trade, guys. Like, this is like, you got to put something together that would compete with those two teams. So that's what I would say about that. Now maybe there's a way you can not trade McDaniels, but I just don't know why the Portland would get involved in. That's all. Okay. Last long shot I put is getting to the Eastern Conference, which is a long shot, but a possibility nonetheless.
Yeah. That, like 2 years down the road? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Okay.
Start lining it up.
Okay. Anything else on the Timberwolves?
No.
Okay. For everybody listening, like, subscribe, let us know your thoughts on the Timberwolves. What would you do with them this offseason? And thanks so much for listening. Okay, thanks so much for watching this clip of the Box Score Sports Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter or X. And we'll talk to you guys real soon. See ya.